Greetings gamers, I'm Shootkapow and Pikmas is back. After a pretty long Pikmin drought on my channel, it's time for a week straight of Pikmin videos before I hibernate for another year. Today, we're starting off strong with a comprehensive tier list of every Pikmin type in the series, from worst to best. Every Pikmin has their own attributes with strengths and weaknesses, but often those will change with each game. Today, we'll be looking back to the whole series at just how much some types, purples, have changed. Starting off the D tier, fittingly, our number 25 spot goes to Pikmin 3's purples. It was pretty obvious, but for a type that's only usable in mission mode and can't latch onto enemies when thrown, it's pretty expectedly awful. It's good for carrying things back, but not even being in story mode at all means this Pikmin type was never really going to get a full ranking. Number 24 holds the other mission mode exclusive, the white Pikmin. These guys at least have speed and the ability to instantly deal big damage to enemies near the end of the mission, but they're just as underutilized as the purples. Of course, they didn't want to put these guys in the base game to give the new types a spotlight and to keep the game from feeling bloated in terms of types, but it's still a shame what was done to this dynamic duo, especially to the purples. Our first real ranking is Pikmin 2's Reds at number 23. I initially had these guys ranked higher, but as the person who beat Pikmin 2 without using Reds past the intro last year, during Pikmas, which you should also go watch, I really couldn't put Steve and the Steves higher than the bottom of the barrel. They're so incredibly overshadowed by the purples in terms of combat, and the only enemy they're quote-unquote required for are the fiery Bulblaxes that you can still damage with the purples or just punch down. The rest of the game barely changes without them, barring a few fiery sub-levels that you sometimes have to work around. The number 22 spot is just a result of unfortunate placement. Blue Pikmin's appearance in 3 is possibly their worst because they just have nothing to do. Often, I'll get the blues, do their little quest from Garden of Hope, and then scrounge for the last couple of fruits locked behind them before doing the Plasm Wraith. By the time you get them, you've unlocked every area and done almost everything you can, and they just don't have enough of a use in this game to be any higher. 21 and 20 are a joint operation because the Pikmin 3 team got nerfed almost as heavily as the 2 boys coming into Pikmin 4. While they were allowed into the main story, the bloated roster of types meant they were greatly overshadowed. The Rocks had to compete with the Reds and Purples in terms of combat, as well as Ochi, and the Wings had competition as well as a nerf to their pathfinding. The Wings were immune to crushing, but their niche use against Groovy Longlegs doesn't really matter a whole lot here. While it sets them at number 20 above the Rocks, they really just don't do a whole lot and aren't used in many Dendori challenges, at least by my memory. Their uses in challenges like the White Key and Oasis of Order put them above our last competitors though. The Rocks didn't get so lucky. They're outclassed in battle, and the crystals were all but removed in this installment. There are a few crystal walls scattered around the game, but they're very few and far between. They're at least required throughout the game, unlike 2's Reds and 3's Blues, but not much. 13 gets us up into the C tier though, and 4's Yellows start us off well enough. Closer to a D+ or C-, they really don't have many uses off the top of the head. However, they're actually one of the first types to get in the game, meaning they have uses throughout. Many caves have electric hazards, which have been buffed to being lethal again, and though they fall off once Ochi is upgraded, what type doesn't? They're unremarkable, but at least they're not abysmal. 18 holds another yellow, this time the rep from 1. While this was before electricity was introduced, don't be fooled by the seeming lack of defining features. This is the only type to carry bomb rocks, making them great into the final boss, and they're required for multiple ship parts, as are the other 2 in this game. Okay, they still weren't great, but they deserve a C tier for their unique niche if nothing else. Taking a quick break from the yellows, 3's Reds come in at number 17. The introduction of the Pyroclasmic Sludge was great for them, but the rocks being added hurt them far more. They were outclassed in battle for the second time in a row, though the game at least favored them more. There were more fire hazards that were more annoying this time around, with the fire geysers being unbreakable and the aforementioned Sludges and other enemies falling quickly to the Reds' stellar attack power. Again, there isn't much to say about them, but their niche in combat is not to be understated. And getting right back into our yellow marathon, we have another rep from 3 at number 16. These guys are alright, and there are a lot more electric hits they're required for, but the main selling point of these guys is their electricity conducting, which is used in the Phosphat sequence in the final boss and nowhere else. These guys could have been a lot more useful, but even though bomb rocks are back, every type can use them now, and even their increased throw height is overshadowed by the Wings. Overall, the Yellows just kinda got shafted in this game, though they are obtained pretty early on and have their uses before the Wings swoop in to steal their thunder. God, I'm so funny. Our number 15 rep kicks off the B tier, full of well-rounded types that are just generally useful in their games. Pikmin 4's Reds are, of course, useful for being the first type, but their combat prowess is immediately put aside for the Ices. Of course, if you want to actually collect enemies, you have to use them, and they're great for that, but 9 out of 10 times you'll just freeze your foes to death. However, the Reds just have much more utility in this game with the Molten Floors being added, allowing them to go places no other type can until the hazard's removed. However, their best attributes end up being overshadowed, and they're really not anything special outside their good attacking power, longest usage time in the game, and decent utility. However, number 14 is home to the very first appearance of the White Pikmin in 2. These guys were great here, since this was before their attack power nerf, allowing them to be a fairly low-risk, high-reward type in battle, as when they were eaten, the creature that ate them would take big damage. They also had the advantage of speed, being able to carry things back to the ship in moments, and their immunity to poison hazards was great. Overall, just a very solid type that you'll often want in your squad. Number 13 sees the somewhat surprising appearance of Pikmin 4's blues, despite the dominance of the ices. While freezing water is often the better route, it isn't always possible. There are many treasures locked behind them, and many caves that require them to be used. Even Ochi can't carry treasures underwater until very late in the game, meaning the blues utility lasts far longer than almost any other types. They'll often be borderline required for many caves in the game, and I think that's worthy of a B tier placement. Number 12 sees the triumphant return of the white Pikmin in 4. The addition of toxic mold, many poisonous enemies, and the general need for speed in this game mean the white Pikmin have many niches no other type can really fill. While their damage has been nerfed, you have many other options and Ochi to use in battle, and they see a ton of usage in the Primordial Thicket despite it not even technically being their main area. Overall, just a super solid type. Coming in at number 11 is the yellow Pikmin's greatest appearance, that being in the chaotic environment of Pikmin 2. They were of course going to be great in the game, or electricity insta-kills, but outside of that amazing role, they're also incredible into the final boss, the Titan Dweevil, because they ignore its most lethal attack and can reach it easily with their increased throwing height. While they only have a couple of jobs, those jobs are invaluable, and no other type can really fill them. And now, we've reached the A tier and the top 10. Kicking us off are arguably the blues' best appearance, that being in Pikmin 1. Every type has uses in 1, and the blues unlocked a great portion of the game. A lot of Distant Spring and Forest Navel are covered in water, and the Forest of Hope has a couple treasures locked behind them too. They're also obtained much earlier in the game, as soon as Day 3 in the Forest Navel, and immediately see usage in that same area. Again, the one job they do is amazing, and you'll almost always have something for them to do, even if that job is being turned from another type for the Emperor Bulbwax. However, I believe that their role in 2 gives them 2 consecutive top 2 spots, since the blues of 2 come in at number 9. They open up a lot of the game, and nothing else in the series will ever really compare to the wonder I felt as a kid seeing them walk behind an electric gate in Pikmin 2, a completely new type that I knew would open up so much, but just couldn't get yet. They allow you to explore the rest of the Valley of Repose, and hey, a bite may not be a meal, but it's still food, as well as unlock multiple caves and Perplexing Pool, one of which requires you to bring only them. They have a great deal of usage, and will almost always be in your squad, taking up the largest portion of it even. Number 8 sees the red Pikmin's best appearance, before there were any other types to overshadow their combat superiority. Fire was annoying in 1, but the red Pikmin ignored it while quickly destroying most enemies in the game. You almost always want a red Pikmin on your team for their invaluable power, and it makes you wish the purples hadn't been so incredibly busted too. Coming in at number 7 is everyone's favorite silly little scrungly wungly little guy, I said little twice there, the Bulbmin. While its only appearance was in 2, it did great, being one of the only 2 ways to refresh your Pikmin mid-cave, and giving you a type to both ignore every hazard and toss into Candy Pop Buds to not only change your types, but also straight up gain Pikmin. The Bulbmin were an incredible addition to the series, and I really wish the glow Pikmin weren't usable in caves and 4s so they'd have an excuse to come back. They were fairly underutilized in 2, but their presence was invaluable, and well worth the fight with the Bulbmin leader whenever they appeared. And finally, the S tier, housing our top 6 and the best of the best Pikmin types. Kicking us off is the first appearance of the winged Pikmin back in 3. Here they had a great deal of usage, unlocking multiple areas and fruits by being able to open up whatever these gates were called. They also swarmed flank enemies effortlessly, making the Scornet Maestro a joke, though it really didn't need the help, and were also an incredible type in terms of utility with their ability to fly over pretty much anything. Top 5 opens up with Pikmin 4's Purples, back again and about time too. Their Stomp attack is back, this time letting them latch onto enemies while still doing their insane damage and decimating any foe in mere seconds. Their carrying strength is still great, and they still feel much more balanced now that their stun is gone and they have to take up a whole slot on the only 3 slots you get. They're definitely the best type for combat, but the fact that getting a large number of them is locked behind either a long grind or 10 of the toughest Andori challenges in the game, besides Gimmick Gambit, makes them much more balanced, I feel. At number 4 we have the Glow Pikmin. The fact that these guys are actually usable in story mode and not locked to night mode, where by the way they're still amazing, is absolutely insane. If you have enough glow seeds, you can just get enough Pikmin to ignore all the cave's hazards. Heck, 20 or 30 is even enough. You can also get free Pikmin from Candy Pop Buds and stun enemies for free with the Glow Mob. In night mode, you can pretty freely build up a large number of them and stun pretty much anything effortlessly to take it out, making most of the missions a cakewalk as long as you don't get overwhelmed. Their only weakness is not being able to use the Glow Mob when you're controlling Ochi, but he can stun with his dash attack later on anyway. Overall, the Glow Pikmin are very good, bordering on busted, continuing the tradition of Pikmin 3 from the second debut of Pikmin to being an incredible all-rounder. The top 3 consists of the Pikmin that I think a lot of experienced players will be expecting. I don't really expect everyone to agree here, but these are far and away the best fighters in the series' history, and enough of them decimates any normal enemy. I personally believe that earns them a top 3 spot. Starting off as a Rock Pikmin's debut, seeing them being great for utility with crystals everywhere and incredible throwing damage in 3. Heck, even just charging enough of them would decimate a lot of things. These guys have incredible burst damage, so much so that they were able to nearly invalidate the Reds in combat in Pikmin 3. A combination of utility and power is apparently a great thing to have. Reinforcing this is the Ices at number 2, quite possibly the practical peak of Pikmin design. With their battle ability being almost identical to Pikmin 2's busted Ultra Bitter Spray, their utility in freezing water and Hydro Jelly, and the many frozen sublevels and frosty foes in Pikmin 4, these guys have incredible power in battle and insane utility. If you have a problem, the eyes still solve it about 50% of the time. 50% usage isn't bad, since when you look at competitive Pokemon, mons with usage that high are either incredibly powerful, even to the point of being ban-worthy, or have incredible utility, or sometimes both, just like our frozen friends here in Pikmin. However, all the utility in the world can't compare to the sheer force of annihilating everything in your path effortlessly like the purples did in 2. Every non-boss enemy, and even certain bosses, gets so completely plowed through by just 10 purples that it's not even funny. The purple Pikmin were so notoriously busted in their debut game that Nintendo had to nerf them into the ground in 3, and when they plucked them up for 4, they were busted again! I don't think anyone would disagree that the purples deserve the top 1 spot for their long-standing overpowered attack prowess, if nothing else. And there we have it, the first video of Pikmas. This was super fun, and I really enjoy ranking videos, especially if they're Pikmin focused, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Make sure to let me know down in the comments whether or not you agreed with me and why. Also, subscribe so you don't miss the rest of Pikmas. I hope to see you guys in my future videos. I list the patrons on screen right now since I'm recording this in November. What, do you expect me to get this all done in a month? Anyway, I got some work to do, so until next time, this is Shoot Kapow, over and out.